Fantasy football people, it's your boys. We are back. Week 5 is around the corner, but we're doing a video for you on who you need to trade away ASAP. Get them off your
Get these
team,
fools off your team.
give them to somebody else, let them implode on their team going down the season.
Trade them while they're
Act like
hot,
they got cooties and get them the fuck away.
but they got value. Make sure you act like they got value. Negotiation tactic
Well,
101.
Hype
yeah.
them up.
Like if you feel like their value's about to dump, get rid of them quicker than
Oh
quick.
yeah, of course,
Yes.
of course.
Who wants to start?
What you
on-
got?
on
What you
these?
got, Cal?
I'll go first. Player you got to trade away, Mike Evans. Now, I was a big Mike Evans guy preseason. I was like, you could get him like ADP 80, which was kind of huge because I mean he's put up wide receiver one numbers for like the last 5-6 years. I mean at least 1,000 yards, at least 7-8 touchdowns. Like he's always been consistently good fantasy wise. There's a couple reasons to trade him away. His end of the season schedule kind of sucks. Championship game going up against Marcus Lattimore. He's always struggled against him for whatever reason. Like that matchup always is a nightmare for Mike Evans. And then B, he's got a hamstring issue right now, man, and that always lingers. I mean, look at Christian Watson, for instance, right? We haven't even really seen him play to his full potential yet this year. So, I feel like you need to get as much value while you can out of Mike Evans because I don't think he's going to play for a couple weeks.
You know, it's funny you picked Mike Evans because I picked his running back. I got Rashad White as my trade away player. Man, with Mike Evans being hurt, I get it. You always say target shares matter, and he gets used more than anybody in pro football. But I just don't see that him built to hold that workload. And I feel like if Evans is not there, they're dialing up pressure, and it can only get worse for Rashad White. You know what I mean?
I do, and I
So
don't.
before
I
it
think,
gets too bad for him, trade him away while he has a little bit of name value on the basis of usage.
Does,
go
does
ahead.
Baker Mayfield at quarterback scare y'all a bit with these two acquisitions also? Like, as a
Honestly, looking next year, Mike Evans is still going to be a target for me as long as his
I'm not
hamstrings.
gonna lie, I don't have too many issues with what Baker's done this year.
Baker looks good.
Yeah, he looks.
I don't like saying that. Baker looks good though.
is it longevity wise though? Is this because a lot of these guys? I mean, it's week 5. We're looking at trading them for week 12.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're about to find out. Like Mike Evans isn't there. That's who you've been eating off of all year, Baker. So he take him out, and what's left? Godwin and Rashad White. K. Dotton
Right.
sucks. Nobody cares. Dial up the pressure. Put the pressure on Baker. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's what's going to happen, and ultimately, like at the end of the day, like you factor in because the championship round or championship weeks matter, right? Like, and I hate to keep saying things matter, but they kind of do. Like in fantasy football, when you go up against a tough opponent where historically you haven't been able to produce big weeks, like Mike Evans, he has value right now. People still see him as like he's probably a wide receiver too, coming off of a bye week if he's healthy. But if he's not healthy, you don't know. So if you're struggling at like a running back position or you need a solid flex and you can get a 2-for-1 deal, I mean this is probably the time to do it. And the same kind of goes for Rashad White. I mean his usage is up there. I think I would wait to trade him until after next week, especially if Mike Evans doesn't play because he might blow up for one big game. And if he does, his value is going to be even higher. But I mean, I agree. Rashad White's probably going to struggle towards the end of the year, especially with the schedule they have.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
I'm gonna stick with the running backs. It's not that I don't like this guy. I just feel that Raheem Mostert is on a very loaded offensive team with some quality running backs that are just aching to run. I do feel that he has probably the highest value he's gonna have, and I will say this: if he is your flex, your third running back, it's all good. You don't have to worry about it. But if he's one of your ones or twos, I feel like you could probably get a more consistent running back for him or a good value of somebody else. Like I would say like a Pacheco and somebody else, like another flex. And because his name holds value right now, especially after that monster game, he's on the Miami thing. But with Jeff Wilson coming back, with Achane over there, like I don't know who's going to eat. I don't know who's going to vulture touchdowns. I don't know if it's going to be a pass only game with Waddle and Tyreek. There's a lot of what ifs on that, and I'd rather as the longevity and then health. That he's
Yeah.
a injury prone player a bit. That's my only thing is if he's your flex, hey, you got nothing to worry about. But if he's not, I mean, you could probably get a nice 2-for-1 player at this point.
Not only that, too, like, trade him before people catch on to the fact that he fumbles the ball. Like, and that's why McDaniels ended up benching him last week, is because he fumbled twice in a game where they were trying to come back and prove that they were a contender in the AFC. I'm not saying that, like, long term that's going to hurt, but, like, if he keeps fumbling the ball, Ache's going to run away with that backfield. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be the passing down back. And we won't see that much of Raheem Mostert at the end of the year.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I mean, if he keeps fumbling the ball, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, he literally has to fumble a lot more. Like
he fumbled twice last week. He fumbles 2 more times in the season. I think he's done.
I think that, to your point, like Achane will take more snaps, but I don't see Jeff Wilson playing very much unless Mostert gets hurt
or keeps fumbling the damn ball.
Yeah.
I just feel like the odds are against him, and with 2 running backs on there, a rookie running back that's fast. I mean, they had this dude racing.
I'm with you, bro. Like you just said it. His stock's as high as it's probably gonna be. So I'm gonna try to get an RB1 or 2 for this flex player that looks like a RB1 or 2.
Yeah, because right now he's RB1. He's up there. His numbers are high, but I mean, inflation is a thing in fantasy, and I'm gonna sell him as fast as I can right now.
Also, I'm not saying that they're the greatest, like it's the hardest stretch in the world, but his last 4 games of the meaningful fantasy season, he goes up against the Titans, who kind of shut Joe Mixon down last week. He goes up against the Jets, who have a pretty good defense. Then the Cowboys, who nobody's really ran over so far. And then the Ravens, who, like, if they're good at anything, it's stopping the run.
Yeah.
Like, there's a very, very strong possibility that we don't see a lot of Raheem Mostert action in those last 4 weeks for anything meaningful.
Where if you plan to be in that playoffs, you don't want that.
100%. And if you're at the top of the league, you want to stay there. Trade Raheem Mostert while you can.
Yeah.
Anybody want to go first, second, or do you guys want to hate me?
I'll go next since you brought up Baltimore.
Okay.
My next one is Jerome Ford. Baltimore pretty much locked him down. I get it. Deshaun Watson didn't play, so it was kind of a little easier for him to stack the box and go up against him. But I just feel that there's no ceiling above what he's giving you right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can sell him high for another player, or if you need a receiver or something like that, go and sell him as high as you can. Because if Deshaun Watson gets hurt, he gets suspended or whatever, his stock's going to go down as they just start stacking the box again against him and all that. I just feel he's a good player right now.
Jerome Ford should have been traded because it's recency bias. If people look at what he did against the Steelers on that Monday night game, and then you remember it's the Steelers. Like they can't stop a runny nose, much less a running back. And then he had to do real running back shit, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, honestly, I think Jerome Ford should have been traded as soon as Nick Chubb got hurt, and he had 1 week after. I think that was the time to be like, hey, like give me everything I can get for this running back in a system that's like in the past proven that running backs.
The benefit I feel like you could get rid of him is if somebody wanted like a third running back, he's on bye, so they're gonna be like, oh, no more buys. I can put him in, and all that, but just give him to somebody else. Let him deal with that on their team.
Try to get a flex. Pick up guys that are in the next video that you'll see.
Yeah. All right, I'll go since you said you're going to piss us off. Let's save that till the end.
Yeah.
I'm going Tutu Atwell. I just don't think he's going to get used very much if Cooper Kupp comes back. But I still think he's going to get a lot of snaps. Like Nick said, is sometimes fantasy numbers are more inflated because like you're getting snaps and routes run, but you're kind of the dummy on the team. Like for instance, go back and look at what Puka did against the Colts last week to win the game, right? Like he was wide open in the middle of the field, but if you watch that play, it's because Tutu just cleared that bitch out for you because he's so much faster. So I just think Tutu's a distraction, but because he did good without Cooper Kupp there, trade that fool now while you can get something.
Yeah, I feel like Cooper Kupp is going to have an effect on Tutu, and Puka, more so on Tutu though. Like he's getting a lot of targets right now that are probably going to end up going to Cooper Cup, and I don't foresee them stopping to run the ball with Kyron Williams that much. So I think Tutu is probably the biggest trade candidate on that team.
Word.
But that's where I'm at. So, all right, not to piss y'all off and on a sour note, but if anybody's watching this, you could see the Houston stuff in the back of these two cameras. I think you should trade CJ Stroud.
Dickheads.
Fantasy wise, especially if you have another quarterback. And the reason I say this right now, when you look at the end of the Texans schedule, it's a tougher stretch, like for fantasy owners. Okay, you're going up against the Jets, then you have the Titans, which we don't know. We don't really know what the Titans are yet, but they locked down Joe Burrow in a pretty electric offense last week. Then you get the Browns, who have a pretty good defense. I think we could admit that. And then you get the Titans again. So if you get locked down the first time against the Titans, I don't think you're going to do much better against them the second time. And that's in the fantasy championship. So if you're not going to use him in that time frame, I think it's worth trading versus just setting him on your bench. Especially if you can get something like an upgrade at another position. If you're able to package CJ Stroud and a flex player now to get an RB2 or a wide receiver 2, I think that helps you win leagues ultimately. You dump value that you have on your bench to get more value in your starting lineup.
I never like having two quarterbacks on my team anyway. I mean, if you got to think, if you have a top 5 quarter, if you have a Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, no offense, CJ, but I'm gonna trade you for what I can get to a flex or something. I'm gonna get some value out of you, and I'm cool with it. Now, if you were one of those people that waited for Aaron Rodgers, you got Dak Prescott or something like that, you might want to go and check out what CJ's doing at.
I was gonna say, bro, I got Trevor Lawrence as my QB1, and I would trade Trevor Lawrence before I trade CJ. To be honest with you,
I don't agree, just because of their schedules, A, and B. I trust the Jaguars' offense more than I do the Texans.
you shouldn't.
I do. I do.
The irony to that is if you you haven't none of us have really got to see what the Texas offense is because we haven't been able to run the ball.
I feel the exact same way about the Jaguars, except not because of their running the ball, but because I think like Doug Peterson is very experimental in the beginning of the season. Whereas
I think his system sucks.
I mean, that very well could, but he's won a Super Bowl, and I think that lends some credit to it. Also, you're right. We don't know what the Texans' offense looks like when you guys can run the ball, but that also kind of scares me that you guys will be able to run the ball, and that takes the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands.
Okay, in theory that makes sense, but you got to factor in that we can't run the ball right now, but that doesn't mean we haven't been running the ball.
No,
we still
But if you can run the ball better, then I think that takes the ball out of CJ's hands, and that's why I think you should trade him. I do too. I think CJ Stroud's the realest thing as a quarterback that the Texans have had in a long time. You guys probably agree.
I think might be the best quarterback we've ever had.
I mean, honestly, I could see that happening. Fantasy wise, this year, I'm staying away from him towards the final stretch because that's 4 tough matchups in a row. On top of that, like Tennessee likes to run the ball a lot and hold time of possession. If they do that, CJ Stroud's not going to have that much time.
Hey, I'm gonna have to be the homer in this one. We ain't worried about none of that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes towards the end of the season.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
That's fine by me. If you end up dying on the roadside.
Nah, but I mean, I think when it comes to all the 6 guys that we picked, though, it's for sure evaluate your team on what you need. Evaluate what it is. I mean, if you don't have a viable running back 2 or the 2 of these guys are somehow your 2 running backs or your receivers, then I feel bad for you. You got to start making some moves, but
might be time to blow it up.
Yeah. So week 5, this is usually when people start to get a little frisky with their team and start trading away people for sure. Bye week blues hit in.
Yep.
If you made it to this point, though, make sure you like, subscribe, drop any comments you have down below. We got you covered. There's one of us always on YouTube to answer any questions. Make sure you check us out every Sunday at 8 in the morning Central Time. We got you covered live on YouTube with questions on stardom, sit-ems, all the fun stuff from anything fantasy football, parlays, all that stuff. Got any
All
IDP
of
questions? Ask Zach up above. He got you covered. Other than that, good luck in week 5. Good luck in bye week blues. Hopefully, no more injuries. We are out of here, fantasy football people. Later.
Peace.
Peace.
How much I'm working for this? I swear my dreams are too important.